You are watching Omnis Protocol, and I am Charles, also known as Omnis, and I have another Star Wars Shatterpoint battle report for you. This is also from the Las Vegas Open, just earlier in October. And this particular matchup is featuring Thunderdome playing Mace and Obi versus Ashley, who is playing the Padme box and the Delta box. So it is Republic versus Republic, but it's two very different styles. It is the ultra defensive Republic versus, honestly, like a very offensive version of it. And I know that may not be the way that everybody looks at Padme, but I think her box brings a lot of power, a lot of offense, and a lot of options to the Delta. One of my favorite lists from the event overall. So I'm really excited to dig into this game. I think people are still just barely beginning to explore kind of the different options that you can play with Boss. Like, a lot of different Republic stuff pairs really well with him. And I think Padme is a really interesting choice. I know she is represented very well with Padme in her area. I believe she is from Texas. But like Thunderdome, bring in like the ultra defense, like the tank build, if there is one in Shatterpoint. So I'm interested to see how these kind of play off each other and where the advantage is found. So, as always, I really appreciate the players allowing me to record them. It allows us to get games out to the community. And so, there's always a little bit of added stress for playing under the camera, but I just want both of you to know I super appreciate you, and I'm glad we have this for everyone to check out. And hopefully I can provide some interesting insight into the game as we get into it. So now is as good a time as any to hop in. So, looking at this particular matchup, and one of the interesting things here is that Mace has Rex and Obi has Padawan Ahsoka. Also, in this particular list, Obi is running the Republic Commandos over the 212th, which is kind of the direction I've been leaning. So I like that play overall. I am curious what's the thought process with Ahsoka. My gut is that his list composition is probably leaning into Mace more than Obi in this particular case, which is why Mace has Rex. So it looks to me like Thunderdome got priority, and they are playing on shifting priorities. I always love a good classic shifting priorities game. You can kind of see on the terrain with how I set it up. I like to occasionally leave the middle totally on the ground and just kind of see how that plays out. Like, too often, I think we put terrain right there, and it's, not super interesting. But so it looks like his first card was Captain Rex. He also used the start of turn ability to move Mace a little bit closer up. So in this particular case, it looks like Rex is electing to end up with double hunker and be on the point, has utilized one force, and then Mace also has a hunker token, which is relevant. There is a world where Mace can get on points in a list like this, like especially if Ahsoka moves him as well. There is definitely a world where he could end up on points. So, but going on to Ashley's first activation, she pulls the Handmaidens. And so I think that's definitely a solid pull for her in this situation. Go up, try to take 2 points, and put the opposing Republic player in kind of a position of needing to figure out exactly how they're going to take 2 back. No. So. Yeah. So in this particular case, she's making a very interesting choice where she's taking the objective on the raised portion. So it's making it so that if a character like Mace wants to get onto the objective and take it from her, he's all not going to necessarily be able to melee her. Now, that definitely can backfire in some circumstances. Like, say, for example, looking at the layout, if he dashes himself to the ladder that's just a little bit in front of him, he may then be able to just walk across and still be on that spot, shove her off, and potentially shove himself down. But I like the thought process there. That's definitely something that I've utilized, and I've been frustrated on occasion when I'm playing heavy melee characters. So overall, I like the Handmaiden play. Take 2 points. They are very offensive and can definitely get wounds for you. But I think Ashley is probably perfectly happy getting to start off the turn and just go, hey, I'm going to score 3. I think this is definitely a solid pick for him as well. There is a non-crazy world where the Rebel Commandos can go take those 2 points if they set up where they both get on a point, both attack a Handmaiden. It would not be crazy for them to get that kill, which would be huge. That would be like a massive game swinging situation. So first Republic Commando just advances forward, is kind of half under the gantry. You can kind of still see it on the screen. The other one has moved under the gantry. The Handmaidens having a hunker right now is a pretty big deal, but I think one of them is at least going to be able to get up there, take that off. I think if I were in this situation, staring down at it in Ashley's spot, my definite worry would be that if they can set it up where they can take both of those points, is going to be rough. So they've spent a force for the defensive maneuver, which gives them a hunker. He's resolving the ranged attack first, which is smart. You want to try to shove her off so the other one gets to shoot. I really like that as a general plan. I don't think it's utilized enough. But she blocks 4, which blocks all 4 hits. 1 crit goes through. I believe that is just 2 damage. So that's solid. It's funny, earlier in the conversation, I was like, shove her off. But yeah, the commandos can't actually do that. She's got really solid blocks here, though. 4 blocks. 1 crit goes through. So it just ends up with 4 damage. Overall, if I were in Ashley's position, I am very happy with that overall outcome. Only allowing Thunderdome to take the middle point, which I would be totally fine with, which gives both of them a momentum. I think as long as she can take a point on this activation and keep it flowing in her direction, but she does not want to get trapped into only scoring 2, because that could swing out of her favor pretty dramatically. Boss, this is going to be interesting. I'm really excited to see what she's coming up with here. There's a lot of possibility here of removing cover, getting more characters up the table. So right now we're resolving the dashes that comes at the start of Boss's turn. So I think she said that that's Fixer moving up. And then I believe that's 7 Scorch, who are kind of moving up in the middle. She is choosing to take 3 damage so that the dash becomes an advance and then becomes a reposition. All right. It's kind of obscured, but there is a ladder there. And so she's electing to go up the ladder. Man, I am definitely nervous about her electing. This looks like she's trying to go after Rex, which, whew, Well, I hope this works out for her. My gut would have been definitely go after the Rebel Commandos, but I have a ton of respect for Rex, and attacking him backfires on me so often. Okay. So I think it is actually Fixer and one of the supports that is on the ground, and I believe one of the support is up on the objective, so that way that he's going to be able to add 2 dice. All right, so he goes up to 6 dice. Fairly average roll. 3 blocks, 1 expertise, 2 fails. She rolls 4 expertise, a crit, 3 hits. So it looks like 3 crits are going to go through. Well, it does sound like she ended up dealing 7 damage. So that does mean that she can blow up the... Oh. She is not blowing up the objective. Huh, that's interesting. If you got 7 damage on Rex, that feels like you definitely blow up the objective, get the force back. Even though you take 2 on boss, I would definitely want the kill there. I'm curious what the thought process was in not going after that kill. But, like, inversely, he also could have dropped the hunkers to heal, which would be, like, almost certainly your plan there. And so my gut is that they both moved past that fairly quickly. In his position, I feel like he wants to stay on the objective, drop the 2 hunkers, heal 2, so that he is not going to die to the explosion. But moving on to his turn, now she's got in the position where she only scored 2, which I do think is starting to put her on the back foot. So now we got the 501st. And this is going to put him in a position where he is almost certainly going to be scoring 4 here and get a wound. And so I would definitely say in this moment that struggle 1 is going to start leaning his way very quickly. I believe that was a coordinated fire 1 damage from the commandos. So 1 expertise becomes 2 hits. Or whatever the amount of expertise was, they ended up with a couple of hits. Oh, it looks like he reserved the 501st and chose to activate Ahsoka. I guess it wasn't super optimal positioning for the 501st, so I don't hate that play overall. So this is Ahsoka beating up on them. So here they're trying to figure out what is the angle that she could potentially shove. Which is always awkward. I feel like the vast majority of times when I'm close to a box and my opponent wants to resolve a shove, I almost always feel like they lean towards it still being too close to the box. But in this case, had 2 shoves, so definitely could get her off either way. And so that does mean a score 4 overall for Thunderdome, which I think puts him in a really dominant position. When you can go up and score versus, when you are playing the defensive list, puts you in a really good spot. So Shatterpoint is pulled for Ashley. it sounds like she is doing boss, which is why a lot of characters are now moving. So Fixer comes up on the middle. This is definitely what you need to try to like come back into this game, because Fixer alone is enough to take that point back, and boss can almost certainly kill a 2 health Rex. She is electing to do the dash becomes an advance, becomes a reposition, so that she can go up to 6 damage on boss for more dice. Okay, so in this particular case, she only made the dash into an advance, which then kind of still became a dash. She just wanted 1 more damage. So she is electing to use the explosives now and deal 2 damage. So she gets to recover the 2 damage, or recover 2 force, because she gets the wound on Rex. And now boss is shooting at that commando who's on the ground, and is going to get 2 extra dice from Fixer. They are getting a bonus die from the Hunker. Obviously, it would be great for him to get a wound here. Has to deal 8 damage to get a kill. There's also a consequence here for this attack where resolving the removing a Hunker, I believe that she could move the other commando down onto the point that's currently up on the objective. So this definitely has the potential to backfire and stop her from taking the middle point. Not a great block for the commandos, just 2 expertise, so 2 blocks for them. Really seems like a solid roll for her. She's going to go pretty far down. I'm not familiar enough with boss's tree. But it is a full tree, so I feel like that's going to be a wound. Even though it's a full tree, it caps at 7 damage, so Ashley is not getting the wound there. That's tough. I'm going to see if Thunderdome removes the Hunker and moves the other one down to maintain control of that center objective. I guess it depends on if she got 2 shoves. Okay, yeah, shoved off the point. So yeah, that's not going to matter. She will retain control of it either way. He does remove 1 damage to dash back on. I think in this particular case, my gut is that I'd want to remove the expose, but that's a very dealer's choice situation. It would have been interesting. I can't tell from the distance, but if she could have rule 17'd with Sever Scorch, whoever it is over there, which feels like it's within range 3, there's a world where they get onto the point and maybe finish off that, 2 health that's remaining on the commandos, especially exposed. But we moved on. They didn't flip the middle objective, but I believe maybe it's that Fixer wasn't close enough, and that it's not that Fixer is the one a little further back, which is why she's not in control of that one. And that would also make sense as to why you couldn't rule 17. So it's probably just me misunderstanding which model is which at this angle. So, all right. Well, I mean, even with the wound and scoring 2, that's certainly not perfect here. And Boss still feels a little killable to me in this situation. So Thunderdome had pulled Obi, put him into reserve with his ability, and then put the 501st on top and is activating the 501st. Which I think is a totally solid play at this moment. Oh, here it was Fixer. They're correcting it. She had taken control of it. She scored 1 more, and so they were adjusting that they both didn't get a momentum. I second guessed myself, but I was right the first time. Looks like a solid block from her. So she has 4 blocks plus a crit to hit. So it sounds like it's going to be 2 down. I think this is on Fixer. Yeah, 3 damage and a pin on Fixer. All right, the second one's taking an attack on Fixer. I think there was probably a commando coordinated fire going on. She's going to do the same thing. Probably looks like 4 blocks and a crit to hit. But that is a lot of crits. So 2 crits are going to go through again. So despite her having good blocks, Thunderdome is still able to get the wound there. Just rolls enough crits that 2 crits going through on both, plus a coordinated fire damage, just gets him there just perfectly. That's definitely a tough pill to swallow. I think in a lot of situations, Fixer probably lives through those 2 attacks. But dice going to be dice sometimes. And I mean, that's one of the plus sides of new 501st, if you haven't played them since the update, is they do tend to just like lean into crits more. They're expertise crits. And so that's definitely a spot that they're happy for. So it looks like Thunderdome is going to score 3. Seven scorched. That's definitely a good pull for her. Even though the score is feels like it's definitely leaning towards Thunderdome, she's getting some of the cards she needs, I feel like, to make big potential plays here. So this is Sev resolving his dash towards an enemy. Now we're figuring out where Sev is going to go. Okay. My gut here. I like this play. She's electing to use her explosives first, I believe, on the onto the commandos. And so if she can just get this kill here, which doesn't get it there, so just does 1 damage and strain. But I really like that play. I think she wanted to go for 2 wounds there. And so now that they are at 1, my gut is that you would put the first attack into a 5/0 first. Utilizing like one of these really powerful attacks into a 1 health exposed strained unit is certainly not my preference. And so I think here I would be banking on killing, trying to kill the 5/0 first. But so it looks like 3 blocks and the exposed did nothing. 1 expertise becomes 2 successes for her. So like she is full treeing basically. Yeah, so in this particular situation, she would also have full treed on the 5/0 first, with the exact same roll, and I just think that would have been absolutely huge here. And he is getting shoved twice on the commando. I think sometimes people can get very focused on finishing off the low health, but I think there's a degree of consideration that you want to put into how valuable is the attack that you're utilizing to kill something that's low. And I think there was just a really good opportunity for her to potentially have a big damage output on, on the 5/0 first. They are steadfast. But now it looks like there's only one of them that's going to be on the point. So rolled outside of the tray, she elects to tell him to just keep the block. So I believe it's going to be 4 blocks for the 5/0 first. So it's only going to go 1 down. So it looks like it's just going to be 2 damage on the 5/0 first. All right. They still have a movement action, so Lex to just go ahead and move down there on the point. Yeah, I think what I would have liked to see there is try to get the kill, or like do the first shot on the 5/0 first, and if it goes low, then use the second attack to kill the commando. But since the first attack would have spiked, I would have definitely tried to finish off the 5/0 first, depending on like how the hunker is utilized. So now it is a Mace activation. I believe that was a dash for Obi. Mace dashes up into that middle. Okay. Mace is making an attack into Scorch. All right, utilizing coordinated fire strain because the auto damage would cost a force at the moment. Looks like a block 3. 3 goes through. Right now, just reminding, like, hey, these guys are 8 health, steadfast protection. Sounds like 4 damage, exposed, 2 pushes. And then Mace is going to take cover on the point. Make him very tanky. So that is a score 3 for Thunderdome. Fixer, that's definitely a solid pick. Fixer can potentially move, heal the expose, move, sever, scorch, whichever one got shoved off, back on the point, and Fixer can potentially try to dislodge. Oh, interesting. She is electing to move the support away. I think the goal here is she's trying to undo the bubble by getting characters outside of range 2. I don't know how I feel about this in the moment. I feel like she had a really great play there to take the middle back. And yeah, it feeds into Mace's game quite a bit. But in this particular case, if you don't want to like lean into fighting over Mace, then what I probably would have done is had Fixer move himself, go hit that ladder, walk back and take the back point. So there's definitely a world here where she can't shoot at she can shoot at the 501st, try to shove them off, and then shove herself back onto the point. But would have really liked to have everything on there. All right, Fixer is getting 2 additional dice from his own effect. I believe they were just talking about how her template was painted to be like the Handmaidens. I believe that's going to be 4 blocks from the 501st. Fixer is going to go 3 down. It sounds like that's going to be no double shove, so no single shove. Yeah, I definitely think there was a play there where either Fixer goes after the back point or you just gang up on the middle and guarantee that you take it with the 3 bodies. Yeah, because here she's not getting a shove at all because of the hunker token giving them steadfast. Yeah. Ends on 0. I feel like this is almost certainly going to end the struggle. Here, Thunderdome is kind of looking at that He's got to score 3 and get a wound, or score 4, which just feels very, very, very reasonable. One of the other downsides of moving 7 Scorch off of the objective is that they lose Steadfast and Protection. Sounds like Mace is activating, dash to Obi-Wan. He dashes towards, I believe, Fixer and like one of the 7 Scorch models. Yeah, this feels very reasonable to get a wound on 7 Scorch now. Sounds like 9 dice coordinated fire strain, so would be hard pressed for 7 Scorch to live through this. And triple fail, so just a single block. Two expertise becomes 2 crits for Mace. So it's going to go 5 down. Yeah. I would be feeling, if I were in Thunderdome's shoes at the moment, I would definitely be feeling like I'm positioned very well. Having already wounded Fixer once, now is wounded 7 Scorch. Boss is definitely in a very killable range, and the Handmaidens have been killed once. In return, he has lost, Rex has been wounded, and the Rebel Commandos have been wounded, and the 501st are close to being wounded. But that is going to end struggle 1. Let's see how this flip looks for Ashley. All right, so she's going to take the objective setup, which I like this, because it's going to start off with Boss controlling a point, and then it's Sabe might be back there scoring a point. I can't tell for sure, but Padme's looks like the next activation, I think. And I believe Thunderdome has no one on that back objective back there, since pretty much all those characters have really moved forward. Not the right priority roll for her. She rolled a fail, which means it is that back objective, which is definitely not what she wanted. So she is focus action for a dash. You can't quite see it at this angle. You can kind of just see the edge of the ladder on the screen. Yeah, you can see that Ashley just measured off of it, but she was using that full length ladder to come up the side. Yeah. So you see, now she looks like she's going to potentially take a shot at Ahsoka. This is one of the things where if the other attacks from 7 Scorch had focused into 501st, you can see there's a Rebel Commando on the on that ledge over by the Handmaiden. I believe she would have been in range 4 of him, and so this could have been a perfect opportunity to finish off the Rebel Commandos. So 4 blocks for the Rebel Commando. Or, sorry, for Ahsoka. So 3 crits are going to go through. Padme is getting deflected for 2 damage because she had rolled a fail. 5 damage shove on Ahsoka. All right. She was within range 5 of Mace, so since he is engaged, she had protection and steadfast. So that was a score 2 for Ashley. Fail, which is on the back, which is, I think, a good pull. I mean, Obi can definitely go take it. It doesn't give Obi a great attack, but I think he has the force. I mean, he can, like, he's definitely fine with just kind of like moving back and hunkering. Obi with a hunker token in this list can be like really brutal to deal with. Yeah. So use it, basically hunkered backwards and then jumped to the optimal position. So that's a score 2, goes to 0. Ashley just doesn't want to roll a fail. Got to get the expertise, so you know she's already in a position where she's going to score 3. Sabe is the last card. So resolving this start of turn ability is that all handmaidens, including Sabe, get to dash towards a primary. And she did not want to dash the handmaiden down and potentially have more characters engage with Mace. Sabe is spending the last force for exposed flank. I think the goal here is to try to see if Sabe can finish off Ahsoka, which I think is a very solid plan. Ahsoka's whole kit definitely, she can struggle as the force goes up. Now in a Mace list, there's definitely a world where it just made it refresh enough force that it doesn't matter. But if Ashley's going to pull this one out, I think it's definitely going to help to add force issues. Or is it into Mace? Only one crit is going to go through. Yeah. Unfortunately, with Steadfast and Protection, 1 down does nothing. And she hunkers. Or I believe she may have gotten the hunker token from Exposed Flank. All right. So Ashley scores 3. It is block symbol, which is where Boss and Rex are at. See the flip. Ahsoka. I don't think that's what he wants. I would highly suspect a reserve here because there's so many characters who could go potentially take that point from Boss. And the plus side of the way that Obi works is that the one other character that Thunderdome desperately does not want to activate is Obi, but even if he reserves Ahsoka here and gets Obi, which he does, he can put Ahsoka on the bottom of the deck, which then everyone else is something that he wants. Yep, he is electing to put her on the bottom, and I think every other pull is really great for him here. All right, Rebel Commandos come back. They are healing the strain. Yeah, my gut here is that the Commandos can just wound a boss and take that point, and then it's going to kind of be a chain reaction that this could be really hard to come back from Ashley. But let's see. It doesn't. I'm not 100% sure he's going after. There's a world here where is he thinking about just going after Padme? I mean, I don't hate that. I definitely would prefer the boss kill, but might just be feeling that Padme is a safer. Padme is getting one cover from Sabe. Yeah, I don't love this play. Let's see how it plays out. Maybe I'm just not seeing something. Two fails, 4 blocks for Padme. All right, so just 2 damage goes through with the 1 crit that goes through the blocks. So it looks like 2 damage at a. Or so so it looks like both attacks are actually into Sabe, and now Ahsoka is getting to move an attack from her ability. No cover bonus against melee attacks. So it was realizing that the Rebel Commandos were disarmed, and didn't remember whether or not there was expertise factored in the first attack roll. So just said to remove the 2 damage. Man, ends up with 6 successes on 5 dice, which is 5 hits going through. Damn, that is a. See, I was like second guessing the Ahsoka play to start things off. I was like, maybe his Ahsoka just is a baller. As I think Ahsoka might be wounding Sabe here. So his damage heal, damage reposition, strain, 2 damage, and a push. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a wound. Man, sometimes the 5 dice attacks just do nothing, and sometimes they are just the world. Interesting. It was just resolving the movement with the fact they have scale. So that's 1 momentum for Thunderdome, and scores 2, which then yields another momentum. Interesting. I'm kind of curious if he wants to give up this struggle. Fail, which is the back point for Obi. Shatterpoint for her. There's definitely a situation here where I potentially try to go take that back point with the handmaidens, get them back into the action. You know that they can double up and gang up and take the point from Obi. It does look like with the way that the tokens are marked, that they took that back point in the bottom right. So again, I think I might be losing a little track of which character is which. Maybe Padme's. I thought Padme was up there. Could also be mismarked objectives. No, he scored 2, so definitely took that one. So let's see what Ashley decides here. Now, here she's just sort of checking, like double checking who all has steadfast and protection from Mace. Yeah. What they're discussing right now is that it doesn't turn off when he's wounded, which is the case. No part of that ability says that he has to not be wounded for it to work. Yeah, this is the power of the Obi Mace list, kind of in conjunction. It just stacks defenses, stacks, hoops for you to jump through to score points. And we all know from playing Shatterpoint that you just end up in positions where the more times that you are not able to take an objective back from your opponent, the more likely you just can't have that happen very many times. Yeah. Yeah, I can see how in this case this is a very challenging choice for who for her to activate in the moment. But yeah, I mean I like the handmaidens here. I think the handmaidens taking that priority point from Obi would definitely be my play here. I believe it's going to cost 2 force, but I think that's worth it. They may also be able to kill. They might be able to kill the 501st on the way, which would also be very helpful. She's electing to do boss. She is dealing more damage to boss to get the advance and reposition, it looks like. Okay, so with the repo, hits that ladder, comes up. Now he's doing a move action. Yeah. Yeah. So boss is going down to melee Obi. The problem with this play is that I thought Obi had a hunker token, but I'm not seeing one on the card at the moment. So yeah, if he doesn't have a hunker token, then yes, let's punch him and shove him off. Melee attack from boss versus 6 Obi dice, which is a lot of expertise, it looks like, and 1 fail. Three expertise for her is crit damage. So boss is just going to go 2 down. Because of the side that she was on, she did not hit a shove. Yeah, if I had any feedback for Ashley in this moment, I don't know if she's just like excited to play boss and just wants to like test out and learn a lot of activations from him. But I would have loved to. I think the Handmaidens taking that back point would have been huge for her, and not getting that point is very significant. I could have sworn Obi had a hunker token. Now I want to like play it back and see if I just misremembered or if a hunker token got removed at some point. All right, pulls 501st. Yeah, they definitely can take a point here. Yeah, this is almost certainly a score 4, and boss has, I think, 2 health left. Yep, if they can get 2 damage into boss here, get a wound, that's going to be really hard to come back from. Boss had 2 fails, 2 expertise, and a block. Two blocks, crit to fail, but 2 is still going to go through, which is almost certainly going to kill boss. All right, that does get the wound on boss over there. And then we have another attack to resolve. Here, he's just asking if a particular thing is in range. He can't quite see at his angle. I think we're talking about a shot on Fixer. Her defense dice are definitely not doing her any favors. Looks like 2 blocks from her. It's 4 down. Four damage, pin, strain, reposition. I'm curious where he's going to send the other. All right, so he's going to kind of go after that point. So the first one climbed. The second one just did a full advance. It's a little low on force, so I can see why I wouldn't necessarily want to spend 2 force for. Oh, it would only be 1. They did not get wounded. And that is a score 4 for Thunderdome. Obi and Mace. Jedi versus the non-force users is seems to be going well. Ashley pulls Fixer. Rolls a block for the priority, which is where the 501st is at. So I believe it was heal the pin and dash, and then take strain damage to have 1 health left. So here, Fixer is dashing down. She's currently checking to see if the full advance. Yeah, so there I would have liked either. I think I would have taken the shot first, see if you could hunker yourself forward, and then maybe could walk up and get on that ladder and take that point. Would have been my preference. Now, she gets the wound, she's probably taking the point anyway. Yeah, they only had 2 health and were exposed. So it's 3 damage reduced to 2 because of the mace bubble. Yeah. I think she definitely could have shot first, and then if she, like a shove forward, maybe she's able to advance up to the ladder and be on the right level. That could have been really impactful in that situation. Okay. Takes the momentum, scores 2, gain another momentum. But that ends on 0. So now it's, depending on the priority roll, it might just be over. Yeah. And so here it looks like that's just going to end the game. It's Shatterpoint. I think they may play out the moment just for wounds for tiebreakers, but I believe this game is over. So let's see what the final play is. So electing to use the Shatterpoint on Rex just to make an attack on Fixer, who has 1 health, just to add to his wound totals for tiebreakers, which seems pretty reasonable. Yeah, definitely going to get enough damage through for the wound here. Three blocks and a crit to hit, but 2 crits are still going to go through. And so that takes down Fixer. That is going to wrap up the game. Obviously, this was a game that was lost in 2 struggles. And I think if you're watching this and you're excited about playing Padme, I think you still should be. I think there was definitely plays on the table that could have swung this, or at least closer. I don't know who would have won out, but I think there was times where you Shatterpoint the handmaidens. This is definitely a situation where I think sometimes boss can have a hard time punching through all of that like protection and hunker token. So it's not like, in a lot of situations, I wouldn't say this is the optimal matchup for Padme and boss, but I 100% think that this is still a really cool list. I like what Ashley put together here, and I think it definitely could have pushed further. I would love to talk to her more about this game and see what her thoughts are in retrospect. Like when you're at a tournament, there's always moments where, you know, as the day goes on, you can miss plays, you can get focused in the moment. I notice it every time I watch my own games where I'm like, why didn't I see that? I totally ignored that right there. That would have been a great play. And I think there was definitely some options, and I just think she leaned a little bit too heavily into the boss activations, and I think the rest of the team, including the Padme side, had a lot of potential in this particular matchup. And just a couple of things where maybe you shove before you move, a little bit of target prioritization, and I definitely think that this boss Padme list could have come out on top. But man, Mace Obi is such a tough list, and if you haven't played against that specific combination enough times, it just is different. It's just so different than a lot of other matchups because of like just how tanky it can actually be, can like just throw people off if they haven't experienced it as well. So 2 very good lists, 2 very good players. And I'm really so happy that they let me record the game, and I had a blast at LVO, and you know, as I do in all of these videos, huge shout out to Aubrey and Todd and Izzy and, you know, the whole crew, Angel and Jason, that were running things for Shatterpoint at LVO. And I just appreciate that Momentous Struggle allowed me to record games in addition to their streaming. So definitely check out the Momentous Struggle channel. They do absolutely awesome work. Todd is fantastic, and he pours his heart and soul into this stuff. And thank you to Thunderdome and Ashley for allowing me to record the game. I was really excited about grabbing a Padme matchup. I was very excited about this list, and I definitely wanted to see it in action. And to be honest, like I am even more resolved that I think Padme has a place in this particular meta, and I like this Padme box plus boss box. I think is very good and is absolutely, I think people should be exploring it more. So, but I'm just going to close things out here and say the most OP thing that you could do is like, comment, subscribe. You know, let me know how much you're enjoying these videos. And till the next one, later, nerds.